to Talking Restaurants with your hosts, Chuck and Ken, your partners in building profits and creating more time.
Welcome to Talking Restaurants. My name is Chuck Villafranca.
And I'm Ken Dudek.
And we're going to be talking restaurants.
All things restaurants. You know, we have a lot of experience between the two of us. I've been in the restaurant business for about 20 years. My expertise is in the operational and human resource area. Chuck has got pretty much every aspect of restaurants. But what's exciting, and we really want to start off with, is really tapping into Chuck's experience, which is all kinds. But Chuck, you've spent a lot of time working for vendors, and you really know everything pretty much inside and out of how to really maximize the best from our vendors. So why don't you start there, lead us in. I'm going to let you pretty much go forward on this episode because I really want our listeners
awesome.
and our guys watching at home, these restaurants, to know how to maximize being a vendor. And let's talk about, things like vendor contracts. Why don't you go ahead and you start there and let's go for it today.
All right, well, again, welcome to Talking Restaurants. My name is Chuck Villafranca, and let me tell you a little bit about myself. I worked for multiple corporations. I've owned my own restaurant. And I've also worked for Cisco and US Foods, 12 years combined. So there's a lot that I could tell you and teach you on how to maximize your profits through a vendor where the vendor will also be happy about it too. So with the up and coming fall season, we have football coming, we have the holidays coming. Restaurants right now are probably not as busy. Some will be, but not as busy as they are coming into the fall and holiday season. So it's a great time to start thinking about a premier vendor instead of buying from 3, 4, 5 vendors. So if you contract with one vendor and you give them 75 to 80% of your business, you're going to make a ton more money. And they're going to do a lot of extra benefits for you, like server training. And we'll get into more of that as the segment goes on and what a vendor can actually do for you.
Right.
But
Chuck,
sorry,
let me interrupt you, but let me lead you off a little bit on this. We talk about our restaurant owners out there, and I was working with a client this past week, and I noticed that the individual had 5 or 6 vendors, and this the very small,
typical.
Your very small mom and pop type restaurant, local favorite. But now sitting with the owner, he was telling me how he gets one specific thing from this vendor, one specific thing from that vendor. So why don't you talk about really what it costs to get all them vendors? What does that real cost? Are you saving money or are you not saving money?
Oh, you're not saving money, and here's why you're not saving money. A salesman gets paid on commission. Now, they have to hit a certain amount of gross profit dollars before they even make a dollar. Like, they'll have to get 40 gross profit dollars, 45 gross profit dollars, 50 gross profit dollars, depending on the company,
right,
to even make $7 for themselves. So each salesman, just to start out, is going to be trying to charge you as much as they can with being as fair as they can so they can make money. Now, if you were to combine all that into one, you had a contract, say, with a US Foods or a Cisco, and you combined all that to one company and one salesman, now that salesman does not have to charge you a high margin because now he's getting 5 orders in one. He's getting that 40 gross profit dollars, which turns into 200.
Right.
So he's making for himself $70, $80 on one account. He's happy. The vendor's happy. And you're eliminating not only that, but each time a truck stops, it's an estimate of roughly about $100, $75 to $100, that when any vendor stops a truck, that they have to make up right off the bat to break even.
Are you talking about stopping at a location?
To break even, stop the truck.
That's what it costs, the truck, the gas, the fuel, everything.
Gas,
for the vehicle,
fuel,
right?
medical insurance, the payroll.
Right.
They calculate all that in.
Okay.
And it's $75 to $100 just to stop that truck.
Wow. That's
so
crazy.
they have to get that back on the order.
Right.
And that comes from what they call an inside margin. So let's say a Cisco or US Foods pays $10 for a product. They'll calculate a lot of that in there, and it becomes $12, $13 to the salesman. So now they already know they're getting that $75 to $100 right there on an order because they have minimums. And the reason why a minimum is there is so they can gain that truck stop. Wow. If you don't buy X amount of dollars from them, they're not going to get the $75 or $100 back.
Right.
Right?
I see that. Yeah.
Makes
absolutely.
sense?
Yes, it does.
Okay. So, with that being said, Now, if you're buying from 3, 4, 5, 6 vendors, and you're buying, just say $5,000 a week, which if you really think about it, if you're running a 35% food cost and you're buying $5,000 a week, right? What does that give you in your sales? Right, about 15.
Yeah.
Right, about 15 grand a week in sales, which is $750,000 a year, which is not a bad sales.
Not bad.
And that doesn't count all the odds and ends. You're probably buying more than that if you really sit down and analyze it. So you call in a vendor. You start with a Cisco, US Foods, a Maple Vale, a Curtsy, whoever you want. You bring them all in and you let them bid for your business. But you also let them know that you're going to choose one vendor. They're going to get 75-80% of your business. What you can do is you can get a report from all your current vendors, not with the prices. You want to cut the prices off when you give it to the vendor.
Yep.
So, but you want to give them accuracy so they can match up your products apples to apples. Because when you're talking chicken, you have 4% pump. You got 14% pump.
Right.
And there's, some people leave the riblets on, and some people will leave extra fat on, and you really need to see the product and take a look at the product, because there's always a reason why something's more money than the next in most cases. So you want to make sure that the vendor is matching up your product apples to apples, so it's right.
So there's a huge benefit to partnering with a vendor on getting your contract, right? I mean, people they hear contract, ooh, it's really just an agreement between you and the vendor that you're going to buy 85 or 80 to 100%, not 100, 75 to 80% of your business from that particular vendor.
No vendor can handle every
Right.
100% of your business. It's almost impossible.
Right.
But you had brought up the point, Ken, about he buys this from that guy because it's a special product, and he buys this from that guy, and this one from that guy.
Right.
Well, what that's called is, for a vendor, is a hold.
A hold.
A hold on your account. You can't leave them. They got this one item. You got to have it every week. Now you got to have that.
Right.
So a vendor looks for those kind of items for a restaurant. I'm a vendor, and I'm selling you a certain kind of a chicken breast, and you got to have it, and you can't get it anywhere else. If you talk to the vendor and you're going to contract with a vendor, they can bring that in for you.
Yeah.
If you're buying 5 cases a week, and if it's a staple item for you, you're probably buying 5 cases a week. So your vendor can bring that in for you. And if they can't, which in most cases they can, if you're going to contract with them, they'll do that for you. But that's where your secondary vendor comes in.
Right.
You must have a secondary vendor. It's a necessity.
And that's almost, common too. Like a lot of restaurants like their produce company to be their second vendor because they get produce 3 times a week, or they want, produce more than once. And a lot of vendors, not even produce, are carrying tons of extra stuff too.
The thing with produce is a lot of restaurants buy it daily.
Right.
And that's fine. So, there's no Cisco, US Foods, premier vendor that's going to hold you accountable for having a produce company.
Correct.
They understand that.
Right.
They get it. And what they just ask you to do is, hey, if I'm price competitive with your produce, and you're giving me an order twice a week, just throw me a few bones on the produce.
Absolutely.
As long as I'm not killing you on it.
Right.
So, and they're going to do that. They're going to make sure the prices are right for you. A vendor does not want to hurt you. Where they start hurting you, you feel that maybe you've been gouged, or that comes. I hate to say this because I was a salesman, but that comes from the salesman, because we get a price set from a US Foods or a Cisco, and it says, Chuck, you could sell this for $20. You can't go lower than that.
Right.
I could turn around and I could sell that item to you for $80 if you're not looking. I can raise it as high as I want to. So, but when you're under contract, that's not going to happen anymore. Right. Your prices are set. A salesman is not going to raise that on you because, number one, you can't. Number one, it's a breach of contract.
Yep.
And you may say as a operator, well, I use 20 cases of this one product and they just can't get the right price for me. I mean, they're $3 a case higher, and I just can't afford it. That's one of my top items. Well, how that happens with a vendor is, take a Cisco and a US Foods, and Cisco's selling a certain product, to half their customers, and they're buying 2 truckloads, 6,000 cases a week from Tyson. And US Foods, on the other hand, doesn't sell that many of that product, so they're bringing in a half a truck. Well, when you buy a full truck, if you're a Cisco or a US Foods, the broker, a Tyson a Pilgrim's Pride, a Campbell's, they'll give you a $3 a case price break on that product. And that's why that happens sometimes. It's not because of vendors gouging you or those kind of things. It can happen, but they will get the right price for you. They'll go back to the vendor. They'll go back to the broker. The vendor will go back to the broker and say, I have a customer. He's on a contract, and I need this product at this price. And then that's called a deviated price from the broker. And that's the vendor's job to go, and the salesman's job to go and make sure that product's right for you, and then you're going to get that product at the right price.
So the vendor is going to be, it's going to be better business for the vendor to get more volume from you, and it's going to be better for you to give more volume to the vendor, because the vendors,
it's a win-win.
Right, they win on volume. Just their business too. They want, a lot of times we think that, well, they're not there to give us everything for free. We need to.
It's a win-win-win.
Correct.
Because you got the vendor, they got the volume,
right,
and they know that they're going to sell you $10,000 a week,
right,
and they got their certain gross profit on that. They're happy. You're happy because you're getting great prices. You're saving $75,000 a year, and guess what? The salesman's happy because he gets a certain percent of that order. He's no longer has to worry about gross profit.
And what happens, like with my client, is he's got, the vendor coming in and only selling them a couple $100 or the minimum to get the truck there, and the vendor's trying to, sometimes it's not feasible for this guy or girl to go out there and spend, the time to write a small order, and so they're obviously going to look for ways to get more from you, and it takes more, it builds a better relationship with the vendor, and they're going to be more attentive, I think, with that, yeah.
Attentive. The things that a vendor can offer a restaurant on a contract is second to none.
Right.
Now, let's just take server training. Cisco, U.S. Foods, and I bring Cisco and U.S. Foods up a lot because I worked for them 12 years combined.
Right.
So that's why that comes out of me.
And they're national too, so most people recognize the names.
So if you're watching us from California, you can get a hold of a Cisco or a U.S. Foods.
They're the same. I mean, most large vendors are pretty comparable, but your two biggest are
US
Foods.
And what they can do for you when you're under contract with them and the service levels they can provide you, they can give you a full-blown service training program. They'll come in and actually do it for you. Let's say you want to, you want to come up with some new menu items. They'll do that for you. They'll give you all kinds of different ideas. Let's say that you want to incorporate one of those, but you're a little bit afraid. So they'll help you set that on your menu. You can do it for a limited time only, and they will throw you a few free cases to see how it's going to go. Okay. So you're not at a loss. You're not, as a restaurant owner, you're not going to lose any money because you're getting help from the vendor to launch that product. Donations, big banquets, parties. There's all kinds of things that they can do if you contract with them. Right. They're going to take care of you just like you would take care of a regular customer coming into your business, in your restaurant.
So this is our introductory, really on vendors, our vendor series that we're working on, and we're going to get more into the details and how do we set up that vendor contract. Appreciate your time, Chuck. Chuck, like I said, has got phenomenal experience. We don't want to throw tons of it at you right away, but look again for our next episode coming up where we're going to talk about how do you dig in and get that vendor contract started. And again, I'm Ken Dudek, and this is
Chuck Villafranca
for Talking Restaurants.